The Arizona sun was cooking the pavement like it always did in our quiet Phoenix suburb, but that afternoon the real burn hit when I pulled that bright orange flyer from my mailbox. Karen Whitaker, our freshly crowned HOA president, hadn't just crossed a line. She'd sprinted over it waving a flag that read, "No more swimming pools." My pool. The one my grandfather dug by hand in 1972, so his kids could survive triple-digit summers. The same pool where my dad taught me to swim, where my wife and I toasted our first anniversary with cheap wine and cannonballs, where my daughter learned to float before she could walk. And now Karen, in her pressed khakis and clipboard smile, wanted it gone in 30 days. For the aesthetic, she'd probably say. For the community. Yeah, right. Because nothing says civilized living like turning a desert neighborhood into a beige prison yard. I stood there in the driveway, boots planted in the red dirt, flyer crumpling in my fist, and felt that old army discipline click into place. Back in the service, they taught us to study the enemy's playbook before you strike. So that's exactly what I did. While Karen spent her days cruising the cul-de-sac in her white SUV, measuring grass blades to the quarter-inch and lecturing Mrs. Alvarez about her non-compliant cactus garden, I spent nights at the kitchen table with every HOA covenant, city ordinance, and Arizona water rights statute I could download. Turns out Karen's own drought mitigation initiative, the one she shoved through last month, had a beautiful little loophole. Section 7.4.2 allowed sustainable water retention features for erosion control and native habitat. She wrote the damn rule herself to look eco-friendly at the next city council meeting. Perfect. 3 weeks later the backhoes rolled in at dawn. Not loud enough to wake the whole street, just enough to make Karen's curtains twitch. By day, for a perfect 8-foot wide, 4-foot deep trench ringed my entire property, like a medieval castle had crash-landed in suburbia. Bob the contractor kept grinning the whole time. Never built a moat before, Jack. This one's gonna be legendary. We lined it with desert-friendly stone, filled it slow with recycled rainwater from the city's gray water program. Again, perfectly legal under Karen's own climate rules. Stocked it with koi and a couple of native desert fish that loved the heat. Then, just for flavor, I hung hand-painted signs on discreet wooden posts. Caution, sustainable water feature, native wildlife present, enter at own risk. No alligators, of course, but the suggestion was enough to make the neighborhood group chat explode. Karen lasted exactly 48 hours before she couldn't stand it. Her SUV screeched to a halt right at the edge of my new Moat one blistering Thursday afternoon. She climbed out in her standard uniform, starched blouse, HOA name tag gleaming like a medal, heels that screamed, "I've never done real work." Neighbors peeked from behind blinds. I leaned against my porch railing, iced tea in hand, and waited. "Mr. Harlan," she called across the water, voice syrupy sweet, but eyes cold as a morgue. "This eyesore is in direct violation of our aesthetic standards. You have 24 hours to drain it or face daily fines starting at $500. I took a slow sip, letting the ice clink. "Morning, Karen. Funny thing about those standards. Section 7.4.2 of the covenants you personally updated last quarter. Sustainable water retention features for erosion control and native habitat shall be encouraged in arid zones. That's your wording, right?" I had it framed. Her face twitched, the first crack in the porcelain mask. She stepped closer, heels clicking on the temporary wooden bridge I'd thrown across for access. "This is not a water feature. This is a circus ditch. And those ridiculous signs? You're creating a public hazard." "Actually," I said, voice calm as a desert morning, "the signs are just neighborly warnings. Wouldn't want anyone accidentally wandering into our approved habitat zone." I gestured at the shimmering ring. "Koi love the heat. Keeps the mosquitoes down too. Bonus for the community, wouldn't you say?" She was fuming now, cheeks matching the red rock formations out past the subdivision. "I'm calling an emergency board meeting. This will be removed. You will comply." She took one more angry step onto the bridge, leaning forward to stab a finger toward the water like it had personally offended her. That's when the old wood, perfectly maintained but maybe, just maybe, a little loose from yesterday's maintenance, gave a theatrical groan. Karen's arms windmilled. For one glorious second the Queen of the Covenants hung suspended between outrage and gravity. Then splash. Full belly flop into 3 feet of warm, slightly murky, sustainable water. Her perfectly coiffed hair went flat, her blouse turned see-through, and a lily pad I'd planted for that extra eco-touch stuck to her forehead like a crown of shame. She flailed, sputtering, koi darting between her legs like they were laughing too. I didn't laugh out loud. Not yet. But Mrs. Alvarez across the street had her phone out the whole time. Bless her. By dinner the video was everywhere. HOA Karen takes unscheduled swim in illegal moat. Next door blew up. TikTok turned it into sound bites. Someone even set it to the Jaws theme. By morning Karen Whitaker was a meme. Karen versus. The Moat hit 2 million views before breakfast. The board tried to fight back, of course. Emergency letters, certified notices, threats of liens. But every time they cited a rule, my lawyer, retired JAG buddy, sent back a thicker packet quoting Karen's own bylaws right back at them. The city even praised the Moat as innovative desert landscaping. By week's end the board was distancing themselves faster than a scorpion from a boot. And Karen? She resigned in a single-paragraph email blaming personal health concerns and unforeseen community dynamics. Translation: she finally realized the neighborhood had seen the wizard behind the curtain, and the wizard was soaking wet and ridiculous. 2 Saturdays later we threw the biggest block party the subdivision had ever seen. String lights over the Moat, mariachi from the Alvarez kids, burgers on the grill, kids dangling their feet in the water while parents toasted with cold beer. Someone brought a giant inflatable alligator, just for laughs. I stood on the porch watching it all, my daughter splashing where my grandfather once sat telling war stories, and felt something settle in my chest that no fine could ever touch. The pool is still there, by the way, right in the middle of the Moat like the heart it always was. Karen's beige empire of control is gone. And every time a new HOA president gets ideas, they just have to look across the street at the shimmering ring of water and remember, mess with people's memories, their history, their right to live like humans instead of lawn ornaments. And you might just end up taking an unscheduled swim in the very rules you wrote. So here's the question that keeps me up at night, folks. True or false? Karen was the real abuser of power for weaponizing community standards against a family's legacy, or did the homeowner who built the Moat go too far and deserve the same karma she got? Drop your vote in the comments. Because in neighborhoods like ours, the line between standing your ground and starting a war is thinner than desert topsoil, and sometimes the sweetest justice comes with a splash.